is the moment we've all been waiting for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Love that intro. Haven't done it for a while. It's Friday. We're rounding up some of the stories in the news and some of the stories not in the news. And we'll be finding out whether we're on the verge of an alien invasion. It's about time the aliens got here, isn't it? We've been thinking about it for long enough. But here's a story that comes from Hungary. An anti-gay Hungarian politician has resigned after being caught by the police fleeing a 25-man orgy through a window. Not out the back door, this was the window. Why is it always the most homophobic people, the most homophobic politicians always turn out to be secretly hiding in the closet, so to speak? Is this what we've spoken about before, the sort of the self-hatred, the not being able to come to terms with what you are and bottling it up and hating yourself for it, and then ending up being caught in the act like that, which is, well, it's unfortunate for that gentleman. And Hungary is one of these places where the far right have kind of fallen in love with Hungary a little bit recently, because it's got this anti-immigrant agenda, and they are right on the cusp of where the immigrants might be pouring out of the refugee crisis, and they've had to seal their borders. And some people would love to do that in other countries. And one of the famous Hungarians is a man called George Soros, and he's completely the opposite, the antithesis of all of that. His open society are pushing for immigration. They want the world to be one huge melting pot. So George Soros is kind of a prodigal son from Hungary. He's left Hungary and he's doing his thing elsewhere in the world. And a lot of anti-Semites hate George Soros, and there was some conspiracy theory and some exaggerations about what he did as a very young boy in the Second World War in Hungary, and whether or not he was responsible for rounding up people of his own faith and leading them to be executed. Turned out not to be true. He actually suffered during the Second World War in Europe. He suffered at the hands of Nazis, but some people wanted to portray him as a self-hater. But he's not. He's a political philanthropist. He's got his own agenda, very, very liberal agenda, and the people that don't like that accused him of being a self-hater. Liam Bobrick is saying he was Hungary. I like that. Dardasha saying, is there two types of anti-gay and anti-gay marriage? I don't know if there is. But further afield from Hungary, in a place that George Soros has been critical of sometimes and been accused of supporting other times, but I think he's generally critical of it. Netanyahu vows to be the first to take the Pfizer jab, not the cross, just the jab, and he's encouraging others to do so. And if you remember Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, he was encouraging people to take the jab in the arm, and he posed for a photo with it, didn't he? Although that turned out to be fake news. So it's all very well these politicians telling us to take the jab and then posing for the cameras and pretending that they're taking it, but not taking it themselves. I would want to know if the doctors that administer the jab are taking it themselves and who they think should be taking it. It might not be for everyone. Maybe it is necessary for everyone, but I wouldn't take a jab that I didn't have to take. But that's interesting. In the Holy Land, there's Netanyahu promising he is going to step up first. I guess he's quite old now, isn't he? Maybe he's in the category that are at risk. 33X in the chat is saying the gays stole what non-gays have been doing for 50,000 years. I'm not sure what that means, 33X. I'm not sure what you're accusing gay people of, but it's interesting. The algorithm picked that up, and I had to put it on the screen. So must be something hateful that the algorithm is picking up, but I'm not. 33X is saying, yep, marriage is for Adam and Eve. Everyone knows that. Yeah, we had Adam on the show the other night. He was telling us what his name meant. And it comes from the red earth color. So what else is going on in the Holy Land, in the Middle East? apparently, a former space security chief says aliens exist and humanity just isn't ready. This Galactic Federation has supposedly been in contact with the US for years, but are keeping themselves a secret to prevent hysteria until humanity is ready. Hysteria, that's actually a very sexist word. I don't know if you know the etymology of hysteria. We do like to go into etymology now and then. If you have a hysterectomy, I feel like I'm in the classroom. Who knows what a hysterectomy means? It's when a woman has her uterus or her womb removed. So hyster comes from meaning the uterus, and people used to think that during the time of the month, women would become hysterical because of the hormones being released by the uterus as the ins and outs of it. It's all about the lining of the womb, isn't it? So it's interesting that even a word like hysteria could be sexist. And we will be talking about toxic masculinity soon. So watch out for that. But of course, the monthly cycle has a galactical or astrological meaning, because the monthly cycle, the month is so named after the moon. And there you've got a picture there of all the stars and the planets sort of orbiting around. And the reason why women get hysterical every month, if they do, is because of the moon. And thousands of years ago, our ancestors, our great grandmothers would all have become hysterical at the same time of the month because of the lunar cycle, which is also where we get the term lunatic. If you're a lunatic, I know a lot of them watch the show, that's also because of the moon. But we've got a lunatic on the line. Who's this?
Hello.
Hello, caller. You're through to lessons for Lessons for Life. Welcome. What's your point?
Thank you. I heard you mentioning bringing up topics for the week, and going to something fascinating that probably is going to change this country forever.
Oh yeah.
That took place.
What's that?
Over in Turkey. At the football match, I think it was in Turkey, it was in Istanbul. It seemed the team I was playing, I beg your pardon, the referee referred to a person of color as black, which infuriated the manager who was of color. Yeah. And it seems that to refer to a person of color or an African person as a person who is black is going to be the new racist thing of our time.
You can't say anything these days. Maybe it was the way he said it. It's not to do with what you say, it's the way you say it, isn't it? If you say, "Oh, the black guy, get the black guy out of here." Go on then.
I respectfully disagree. There were two Chinese people on the field, and the referee said, "Which Chinese man?"
They've got a great wall, haven't they? The Chinese football team.
These people are coming off. It wouldn't be a problem, but for some reason, it seems that if you refer to black people, I don't know whether they don't. I'm not sure if that's the case, but certainly it seems that for our generation,
maybe they feel a bit sensitive because of all the violence that's gone on.
I'm sorry?
Maybe they feel a bit sensitive about it because of all the police brutality out in the old US of A.
Yeah, perhaps, but either they feel sensitive, or either they're embarrassed or ashamed, or either they just want to get rid of that part of history, or either they don't look at mirrors, or who knows. But if you can't be proud of who you are, then I think we're just, we're gonna go down a slippery slope. Then what can't we say in the future? But certainly for everyone listening, this is the thing of our time that I think now I don't feel comfortable referring to a friend, even if he is, or one of your listeners, even if they are black. I don't think I would say that, yes, you have a black man.
Yeah,
sure.
that's...
I'll just have to try to find some other word.
I know, we'll try and find another way. Thanks for your call, mystery caller.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you. Someone who doesn't want to be, or is worried about being PC. He is always a bit funny when someone is trying to describe an individual and they are black, and people whisper it as if it's a sort of a shameful thing. I thought we were getting over that, but there would be scenarios when someone would be describing someone, and it might be, your only black colleague in the office, and they would say, well, he's quite tall, he wears a dark suit, he's got curly hair, and they would dance around the issue not to mention black, because some people are paranoid about coming across racist, and maybe that's because secretly or subconsciously they are. But let's talk about aliens, because we don't know what color skin aliens have got. Traditionally, it's been green, but maybe if an alien invasion happens tomorrow, and these space experts tell us it could well happen, this could be the way to unite the world. And all of a sudden, black people would forget that they're black, white people would forget that they're white, and people like that caller wouldn't have to worry about coming across as racist, because we'd have this new common enemy. And this would be a great way to unite the world. This could lead to world peace, what we've been waiting for thousands of years. When are we going to stop fighting each other? When are we going to stop bickering about whether black lives matter or white lives matter? Maybe the great world peace will come when we get the aliens. Now, someone's already thought of this. Somebody's already thought of this idea. And I'm going to play a little clip. Like most things, they've been predicted already on The Simpsons. Let's have a little look. Remember how The Simpsons predicted Donald Trump? And remember how The Simpsons predicted, was it the World Cup result? And just about everything that's ever happened. Forget the Bible. If you want real prophecy, you go direct to Matt Groening. Let's have a little look.
It's the rapture, Shauna. The rapture. The virtuous have gone to heaven, and the rest of us have been left below.
Left below? Where have I heard that before?
Fools! And because we rejected God, tacitly accepting Satan, we must suffer through the apocalypse.
I thought all religions were a path to God. I was wrong.
Why did I put my faith in science and technology?
Oh, why did I choose to be gay? Oh, this movie will haunt me for the rest.
Diddly diddly. Well, we pulled more plugs than a Dutch doctor. Now let's take a trip to the side of the house.
Yay!
Why, that's a higher power than even I believe in. Why, that's a higher...
Good old Ned Flanders there. We've pulled more plugs than a Dutch doctor. Absolutely great. Owen Keeling in the chat is saying Galactic Federation, Ashtar, and lots of biblical figures versus the Orion group, the Satanist aliens. This is the stuff I've seen from the UFO people. Yeah. And the conspiracy theory I was alluding to is Project Bluebeam. Now, our friend in the chat already mentioned this. And some people, especially French speakers, this is very popular among those tinfoil hat wearers that like to parler français avec le chapeau foil tin. This was a project thought up by Serge Monast, died in 1996, a Quebecois, that means he's a French-Canadian investigative journalist, and he is known mainly for Project Bluebeam and associated conspiracy tropes. That means things that aren't true. His work on Masonic conspiracy theories and the New World Order remained popular with the French-speaking conspiracy theorists and enthusiasts. That's why I said that. So this is the idea that the powers that be will shine a blue light into the sky, and they will fake an alien invasion, and they will portray themselves as God They will portray themselves as the return of Christ. And I'm not sure where this might happen, but it's interesting that people in the Holy Land are convincing us that aliens do exist, but we're not ready for them, but they might be ready soon. And any minute now, we're going to see this invasion. But of course, before Jesus can come back, if you do believe in Jesus coming back, we're going to see the arrival of the Antichrist. I know a lot of people will have seen the great YouTube documentary, The Arrivals. Do you remember that one? This was accounting all the figures and the milestones chronologically that will have to happen before the end times and the coming of the Antichrist, and after the Antichrist, the apocryphal figures that will come and defeat him. And I believe that that particular documentary was put together by Shia Muslims. So of course they've got the same story as the Sunnis up to a point, but with much more emphasis on Imam Mahdi coming to preempt Jesus arriving and then defeating the Antichrist. But this Blue Beam project would almost sort of tie up with that idea of somebody faking the return of Jesus, creating world peace. The Bible and the Quran, I think, agree that the Antichrist will rule the world. So before Jesus comes back and before Jesus rules the world, somebody posing as him will rule the world and will achieve world peace, I think. And how would you convince people that you were the Christ if you did not? So the Antichrist has to pose as Jesus. He's going to have to fulfill some criteria in order to convince the masses, isn't he? So maybe an alien invasion would be convincing. Owen Keeling is mentioning, behold, a pale horse, William Cooper. Wow. Now, if you know about William Cooper, that means you're a hardcore tinfoil hat wearer. And William Cooper, like a true conspiracy theorist, like a real man, was killed by the police in a shootout. I think they ambushed him outside his house, and he went down. He didn't go down without a fight, put it that way. And I think he was killed shortly. Could I be right in saying killed shortly after 9/11? Not for telling the truth, surely. Let's find out when William Cooper was extrajudicially executed. Died the 5th of November. How could I forget? 2001. Just a couple of months after 9/11. So I wonder what he was talking about. Well, Owen Keeling's mentioning him here, so I'm presuming he either spoke about the Blue Beam project or something similar. As Cooper moved away from the UFO community and toward the militia and anti-government subculture, he became convinced that he was being personally targeted by Bill Clinton. In July 1998, he was charged with tax evasion. An arrest warrant was issued, but Cooper eluded repeated attempts to serve it. In 2000, he was named a fugitive, and on the 5th of November, Apache County Sheriff's deputies attempted to arrest Cooper at his home, and he was charged with aggravated assault and with a deadly weapon and endangerment after an exchange of gunfire, during which Cooper shot one of the deputies in the head. Cooper was fatally shot. Authorities reported that Cooper had spent years evading execution of the 1998 arrest warrant. Okay. Brian Cannot Tell knows about this. He's saying shot him on the porch. Yeah, isn't that crazy? And he wrote, behold, a pale horse. Brian, maybe you know what William Cooper was talking about. Was this pale horse the horse of the apocalypse and the horsemen of the apocalypse. Behold a Pale Horse. Yeah, an influential book among UFO and militia circles. So I'm presuming he was pro-gun and the right to bear arms. In Behold a Pale Horse, Cooper proposed that AIDS was the result of a conspiracy to decrease the population of blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals. Yeah. Cooper gained attention in UFOlogy circles in 1988 when he claimed to have seen secret documents while in the Navy describing governmental dealings with extraterrestrials. Yeah, Brian, we'd love to get you on. If you feel like it, click the link on the description and we'll have a chat with you. But no pressure, as ever. If you feel like it, we'd love to have a chat with you. And if not tonight, another night. But I do wonder, with all that's happening, are we on the verge of somebody piping up and saying, oh, you know, we've made contact with aliens? We've got a caller. Who's this? Caller, you're live.
Hello?
Hello, welcome.
Salam alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam. How are you? And peace with you.
I'm good. How are you, Habibi?
Yeah, I'm all right. What do you think about the prospect of aliens arriving on our doorstep anytime now?
I welcome it, and if they want some trouble, we'll give it to them because we got Space Force, and we'll give it to them if they want some business. But if they want peace, we'll give them that as well.
If aliens did arrive, what do you think the chances are that they are friendly? Are they going to be friendly, or are they going to be an enemy?
Well, I'm pretty sure they're like super intelligent, so they got to be friendly, you know?
Well,
if they're like,
does super intelligent?
If they're not friendly, if they're like generations and eons smarter than us, then I'm pretty sure they would find a way that we would not even know they have us under control. No? Yeah,
maybe they're here already. I get the fact that they would be.
I believe Wi-Fi is a alien technology that was given to us.
They didn't give me a very good version of it, unfortunately. I get what you're saying about them being infinitely more intelligent, but does intelligence equate morality? Just because you're more intelligent than me doesn't mean that you're a nicer person. Some of the most intelligent people I know are evil.
I wouldn't say it does, because somebody is really intelligent that might say, "Oh, for the greater good, we must sacrifice Earth to save the galaxy." You know? Yeah,
and of
course, might be like that.
If you've seen Men in Black, the galaxy is located where?
In Orion's belt.
Boom! He's got it. He knows his sci-fi. Superb. Appreciate the call, Turk.
I really hope. Before I go, I just hope it's like Mars attacks. You know, like they're little like funny things.
Yeah, we need a little bit of
sounds with, like ray guns that automatically.
Yeah, ray guns. Islamic ray guns. Absolutely.
Yeah, ray guns. Yeah,
ray guns. Good man. Good man. All right, Turk. Thank you.
All right, no problem. I'll call next time.
Anytime. You're welcome. Regular contributor and supporter. That's the Turk. Yeah, I haven't seen Mars Attacks. I've seen Men in Black. I haven't even seen Men in Black 2. But I had heard of the Men in Black before it was a great film. Brian Cannot Tell is telling us that his father knew Bill Cooper personally. Whoa. Okay. We are in touch with conspiracy theory celebrity. And I know the term conspiracy theory was invented by the CIA. I don't use it disparagingly. But Brian, that is incredible, man. Your dad must have had a few stories to tell. And from the way you describe it, I don't know if your father is still with us. If he's not, may he rest in peace. I hope he's up there with Bill Cooper. But we'd love to hear from you one night, Brian. Whenever you're ready, you're going to come on and chat to us, and we're going to love it. Owen Keeling saying Space Force. Brian Cannot Tell is mentioning government corporation takeover of world. Yeah, they've already taken over the world, haven't they? 33X, humans are no match for aliens, maybe. Yeah, Owen is sharing my amazement that you knew that your father knew Bill Cooper. That's amazing. I love listening to Bill Cooper. Like, I'm one of these people that can't switch off. Sometimes I've got to be listening to something, and really, sometimes it's good to have a bit of silence. But when you just want to listen to something that's going to take you to another place, I do switch on the old recordings of Bill Cooper. And because it's got that grainy, sort of bad quality recording, I mean, he must have done it on cassettes, I reckon. It takes you back 20 or 30 years to that era, and just really sort of takes you out of the dark place that we're in now. I mean, I'm somebody who likes to keep up with current affairs. You know, I prepare these news stories so I can come and talk to you guys about it. But sometimes we really want to be removed from where we are now, removed from that reality, and just listening to someone like Bill Cooper. And there's such a wealth of his backlog of information, a catalogue of information. You'll always find something that you haven't heard, and his Behold a Pale Horse audiobook is on there, and it's him reading it, and it really does take you back to a different place. And the things that he was talking about, how many of them have come true, it's quite remarkable. It's kind of like reading George Orwell's 1984, which, as we know, is so much more than a novel. Brian Cannot Tell is saying Lucifer was the smartest. Exactly. This goes back to my question of, does intelligence equal morality? And geniuses, are they always kind and decent? And we talk a lot on here about psychopathy, psychopaths, people that can make brutal, cutthroat decisions in an instant, might be highly intelligent, but lacking empathy, lacking, we call it humanity. That's what makes us human. That's what sets us apart from the animal kingdom, where a male lion will move into a new pride and kill all the cubs. We are better than that. We know that that's wrong, but then do we take that too far? Or do we say, well, then you can't even let women have the right to make decisions over their own body? Is there something about being a psychopath that makes everything so simple? But I said that quite flippantly and threw it out there because I know the pro-life / pro-choice debate is quite polarizing. But really, any sort of intelligent person, sorry, no, not intelligent, any sort of empathetic, any person who has sympathy for other people, when you ask them about the pro-choice or pro-life debate, they should have to stop and think very hard. And they can come to a conclusion, but it shouldn't be a conclusion that you can make without thinking, well, hang on a minute, what are the pros and cons? What if I was a woman in that position and I was finding things impossible? What if I was an unborn child and I wanted to live? If you don't do that mental exercise, and you may have done it at some point in your life when you were very young and you've come to your conclusion and you've stuck with it, but if you don't take the time to make those decisions, then you're just a robot or a psychopath. And my worry is that the aliens, if they arrive, when they arrive, will be super intelligent psychopaths who have lost their humanity. They will look at us as nothing more than we look at ants as, and wipe us out. Owen Keeling is talking about William Cooper. Brian Cannot Tell, it is not, my dad was very high in Southern Baptist Convention. He passed on Father's Day 2016. Not long gone, Brian, losing your father on Father's Day. Your dad did a great job. I know that for sure. And you are keeping his memory alive with what you're doing. Owen Keeling is saying here, from lessons from Lemuria, coup de grace, the secret government treason in high places, and the army intelligence connection with the satanic church. Yeah, Brian Cannot Tell is running 2 minutes behind. Never mind the fact that he's in America and 6 hours behind on top of that. Yeah, my connection already. William Cooper knew too much. Yeah, knew too much. That's a cliche that often rings true. Can we know too much? Can we become too intelligent? And do we lose the morality? I want to give anyone that hasn't jumped on yet an opportunity to click the link and have a chat with me. We've got Brian in America. I think Owen is in the UK, but we got people all over the world. If anyone wants to jump in, now is a good time to do so. Alternatively, we do have the phone number. I'll get the phone number up there for you. 07491751203. Just tell me what you're going to do when the aliens get here, and which type of aliens. The cliche big head with the eyes, we refer to them as the Greys, but there's actually other aliens that are mentioned in particularly African folklore and African legends of Nordic looking people, tall, blonde haired, Aryan looking aliens. And they've sort of gone out of fashion. We don't hear so much about them. But when the blonde haired white Europeans arrived on the continent of Africa, the black Africans living there thought that this was these ancient aliens returning to where they had been before. And if you want to talk about intelligence versus morality, yeah, you could say that the blonde white European colonialists that went to Africa were more advanced with technology, possibly. Were they more intelligent? I don't know. How do we measure intelligence? But they certainly weren't morally superior if they were going to another person's country, another person's continent, and marauding and stealing their things. But don't forget, it did also happen the other way. And the Barbary coast, where we got the Berber civilization from, the word barbarian, these Berber native North African tribes that embraced Islam and became Muslim, they were marauding and raiding the European coastline and kidnapping white European people and taking them back to Africa and enslaving them. So maybe it's wrong to say that there's a moral superiority to the so-called lesser advanced civilizations. Maybe we all have that in us, the tendency to exploit and capture other people and enslave them. And if we enslave our own fellow human beings, whether that's the transatlantic slave trade and Europeans taking Africans to the Americas, whether that's the Barbary slave trade and Africans taking Europeans to Africa, or Africans enslaving Africans, like what is happening in Libya now. If we haven't eradicated that in our own communities and societies and on this planet, how can we feel aggrieved if the aliens come down and do exactly that to us? We'd be hypocritical, wouldn't we? And maybe, I think more than likely, the aliens are already here. And this would tie up with the ancient African stories about blonde, blue-eyed alien beings And it's Credo Mutwa is the great South African shaman who spoke about this. And if you've watched all of William Cooper's videos and you're looking for the sequel, then I strongly recommend Credo Mutwa. He's going to blow your mind. And I don't know if those two ever met each other. I know Brian Cannot-Tell's father, late father, rest in peace, and Bill Cooper are up there now talking conspiracy theory. And if they are having a polite cup of tea together, I hope they will invite Credo Mutwa to sit down with them, because he could probably complete a lot of pieces in the puzzle, and he really comes at it from a spiritual perspective. So if you're done with William Cooper, maybe Credo Mutwa. Maybe we could get a great conspiracy theorist, or what's the word for hidden apocryphal history? People that study these hidden pieces of our history. We could get one from every continent. I think William Cooper would have to be nominated for North America. We'll go Credo Mutwa for Africa. Who's the greatest Asian sage like that? There is his name escapes me. Who's the great philosopher? And he's not a you'd think he was Hindu, but he isn't, and he gave many great lectures. The name escapes me, but I'll how can I find him? He's not really a conspiracy theorist, but he's more a spiritual philosopher and a guru. Oh, I might have found it. Osho. Yeah, do you remember Osho? He's another one you can watch for hours, and it will really sort of relax your mind. I don't know if Osho has passed away. Do we know?
Just by its sound, it can describe pain, pleasure,
There he is.
hate, and love.
That's Osho describing a certain word for us. So yeah, Osho could represent Asia. William Cooper, North America, where we said Credo Mutwa in Africa. Who's the greatest European conspiracy theorist? I know who the greatest living one is, but there might be someone else from history. Brian Cannot-Tell says on UFO topic, it says that the beast of the sea and the prince of the power of the air, Enki, Enlil, Uso, and the prince of the power of the air, Enki, UFO, who were already here, convinced kings of earth to prepare for war against the coming Christ. Okay, so could these aliens arrive, pose as the return of Christ? Really, they're not the Christ, they're the Antichrist, and they convince the human beings to wage war against the real Christ, who is yet to come. Makes sense, doesn't it? And all these figures have got different name in different religions. We know that the Buddhists are waiting for the Maitreya, and the Christians waiting for Christ. But there will be some kind of figure that will pose as all of these, and will dupe us, apparently. Meta Anik is nominating David as the greatest European conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I think you're right. Meta Anik. And I'm curious about your name, Meta Anik. What does that mean? Is that from the Anunnaki? Could it be? And we need a South American conspiracy theorist. And I spent time in Peru. I was partly inspired to go to Peru by David, that went there and had this amazing experience in Machu Picchu. And I went up the same mountain and looked across the horizon. It was absolutely incredible. And there must be shamans out there that could tell you all kinds of things. My local guide gave me a great insight into the Inca history and the civilization that was lost in Peru. And we saw the Nazca lines that were drawn, if not by the gods or the aliens, for the gods or the aliens. So every culture has it. Every culture is thinking about it, and there must be people in Australia that could tell you about ancient aliens. I mean, you've only got to look at Ayers Rock, and I know that's not the Aborigine term for it, but that looks like something that came from outer space. And where did the Kaaba come from? Where did the black rock in the Kaaba in Mecca come from? If it's from God, it's from up there. It might be a meteorite that fell to Earth, but there's got to be here more to the story than people just found it and started walking around it. And this is another place that has a pagan history that the Abrahamic faiths have tried to not rewrite, but recapture or sort of reinterpret in their own way. And of course, Islamically, it's believed that this Kaaba and this black rock were not pagan idols. They were monotheistic places and objects used for worship prior to some kind of regression when the world went astray and started worshipping idols and worshipping all different things rather than the monotheism that actually, if you look in the history of most places, I think the original inhabitants, and this applies to the people in Australasia, they worshipped one god. They were monotheistic, and these ideas of worshipping trees, worshipping 100 different gods and goddesses sort of came later. And if we're not careful, we'll all end up worshipping many different things. But I think most people, even so-called followers of polytheistic religions like Hinduism springs to mind, if you ask them how many creators are there, they will say there is only one creator, and these other gods are sort of manifestations or expressions of that power. So I do think that the default position is that you are a monotheist, and I think most people, even if you only believe in nature or Mother Nature, some people call it, that you're still acknowledging one sort of greater power. One of the friends we were talking to the other night, who was sharing his faith, the Baha'i faith, he told me that in his writings, as much as there's an emphasis on, and forgive me if I'm paraphrasing this and butchering it, as much as there is an emphasis on God being singular and not being many gods, not having partners, he said that actually to say that God is one is kind of limiting the understanding. And the point really is that God is unknowable. If we could understand God, if we could know who or what God was, well, he wouldn't be God, would he? But someone might come along with a blue beam. I love this. Like, I do laugh about the Blue Beam project because it sounds so ridiculous. But I can see the logic behind it, that we could be duped by something like this. And this great Quebecois journalist, he also mentioned Masonic conspiracy theory and the New World Order. I mean, it can't be a coincidence, can it, that so many different conspiracy theorist nutjobs are all fearing the New World Order. Where did this come from? Let's hear from 33X, who's saying the black rock came from the jewelers, probably, as it looks very, very expensive, probably worth trillions. Wonder why no one steals it. And another comment from 33X, Christ already came, but he saw people involved in sex, drugs, and rock and roll and said, forget this. Maybe. And Owen Keeling is giving us news hot off the press. You heard it here first. 21st of December, there will be a massive false flag. Remember I said so, and don't be scared. All right. Pencil it in. We'll make sure we go live, Owen. Now, that's interesting that he's mentioned the 21st of December, because I know we celebrate Christmas on the 25th. Most of us, I know Orthodox Christians, celebrate it a couple of weeks later. But the 21st of December, I think, relates to the pagan calendar and all these pagan gods that were so reminiscent of Jesus and the Christ story and the virgin birth and being born on that day. They are born generally on the 21st of December. I don't know why we make it the 25th when we do Christmas, and then you've got Boxing Day. 33X, 21st anti-Imran Khan protest also. Oh, I wonder, would that be the Noon League protesting against Imran Khan? I think Imran Khan has done a sterling job, and he isn't about to do any normalization. That is not something Imran Khan is up for. Morocco, who love to occupy Western Sahara, are normalizing, but Pakistan are not. Meta Anik. Apparently Meta comes from pagan culture. Used to be a famous name in Germany back in the days. I just like it. Anik is the short version of my real name. Greetings, Annika. Oh, lovely to hear from you, Annika. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. Du bist sehr schön. I speak a little bit of German. And Annika, I'm assuming your gender. I guess you're female. That is even better to have you with us, because on this show, unfortunately, we're a very, very male-heavy, toxic masculinity type of audience, and I do like to balance things out a little bit. You need to have a little bit of yin, a little bit of yang, and it's great to have your yang with us here on the Friday night live stream. Brian cannot tell. Scripture says they come in such force. Man's heart fails. Who can fight the beast? That could be metaphorically the corporate government, but could be literal powers behind their techno-slave bracelet. Well, Brian, techno notice, but it's great to have Brian on here because he's very well versed in scripture, and but yeah, he's always just flooding the chat, flooding the comments with positivity. And if we aren't going to avoid the terrible false flag that is penciled in for the 21st of December, I think we're going to do it with positivity. Owen, I wonder what you think this false flag might be. Are we talking some kind of attack that they do? What kind of false flag? I hope it's not the alien invasion. And I'll probably still be doing my Christmas shopping on the 21st, knowing me. Brian cannot tell. They're saying worship only one of two things: the creator or the created. Wow. Yeah. A lot of people are a bit wary because the word worship is sometimes associated with, well, you could say being enslaved by something. But when people talk about being a slave of God, I know that's very strong language because of the connotations. But really what they mean is you can be a slave to God or something else. We will all be enslaved by something. You will become addicted to something. If you don't believe in and worship that greater power, whatever that means to you. I'm not saying go to church or go to a mosque or go and follow such and such a religion, but I think everyone will one day conclude that you have to either be aware of the greater power and know that certain things are out of your hands and you can't be a control freak, you can't control everything, or you're going to be worshipping something else. 33X is saying, why don't Palestine normalize relations? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. I wonder who will normalize next. Maybe North Korea and South Korea will normalize relations. Maybe Tom and Jerry will finally bury the hatchet, and maybe we'll get world peace. But just remember, world peace might be a false peace. Owen Keeling is saying, what was the name of the African conspiracy theorist you mentioned? Was there a particular book that you recommend? Well, it's Credo Mutwa is the conspiracy theorist from Africa. I discovered him through David, the great conspiracy theorist from England who lives on the Isle of Wight. And I don't know if he's got his own book out, the late Credo Mutwa. He passed away this year, God rest him. But you can find his interviews online. I'm a very audio person. I've even, I don't even want to admit to what I've done. But some of the books that I have got that I'm too lazy to read, I've scanned them and had the automatic AI voice read it out to me, like my mum used to read to me back when I was 29. 21st is the shortest day of the year. I should have known that, Owen. Opposite of the 25th of July, when they run about Stonehenge in the nude. Oh, better pencil that one in. Of course, you wouldn't want to be running around naked on the 21st of December because it'd be very cold, wouldn't it? Interesting. Yeah, Stonehenge is another one of these great historical sites with astrological significance. Jack Maple is absolutely agreeing with me. You're a clever chap, Jack, if I do say so myself. Brian Cannot Tell is saying Creator is 9, Father, Son, Word, but the feminine part of the Spirit is 7 in 1. So it can be 3, Father, Mother, Son, etc. And yeah, Brian is mentioning the name is Credo Mutwa. That's how you spell it, in case anyone was unsure. The great late South African shaman, I'm calling him. I don't know what tribe he was from. I would love to do a whole show on Credo Mutwa. He deserves it. Yeah. Well, look, guys, thank you so much for joining me. And the best thing about this is I've seen a couple of new faces in the chat tonight. Really, really appreciate it. Please share this video with someone who would benefit from it. People that are interested, the kind of people like us. We're really sort of building a little community now. And look, I just hope we all stay in touch with each other. Owen, Brian, Jack Maple, whoever you are, you're absolutely welcome here. And we will do this all again. Pencil it in for Wednesday night at 10 p.m. We could well be talking to Mac again. He's got something really exciting for us. This has been Lessons for Life, and we will do it all again soon. Don't follow the blue beam. Stay alert, as Boris used to say. We'll do this all again Wednesday night. We were here, and we are gone. Latest.